Good evening from the International Common Law Court. Actually, it's London News in Melbourne, where we're heading across to the International Common Law Court. We're going to meet John Smith, who has been very busy with some cases. As you may be aware or may not be aware, there's a lady and a gentleman who found themselves in prison in France and accused of money laundering because they had a business in England. That anyway, it's a long case. John's been helping them. He's now winning that case. He's free today. He's going to talk to us. So let's cross over to our international side and meet some of our friends. Stephanie's away, Brian's away, and John Glees is away as well. But most of us are here. So let's go ahead and have a look and see what we can learn tonight. Anyway, good evening from London News here in Melbourne, and we have a few of our friends from Victoria and the International Common Law Court, and of course we have John Smith over there in Scotland, who's given up a lot of time to come on here this morning. It's early in the morning, sorry, it's 10:35 or something in the morning in Scotland. John will correct me in a minute. There's one thing about John. There's a lot of rumours floating around in here in Australia about common law courts setting up, and there's people spreading rubbish. And I'd just like to point out, anybody that has to read from a computer have no knowledge. They're just reading it and regurgitating what they see on the screen. Myself, something I never have to do. Somebody asked that Supreme Court in America. She was asked to produce her notes, and the same as mine, blank. I'm going to pass over to Scotland now to a man who never uses his notes, and anything he has is in his head. And if he's a wise man, if he didn't know, he would say, I don't know at this moment, but by God, I will find out. Over to you in Scotland, John. And here comes from New Zealand.
Yes, hello and welcome, everyone. Sorry, I've just got to refer to my notes. Look, there's one thing I'll get off my chest just now. We're actually going to do a video, probably, if we can get one done over the coming days. We're aware that obviously there's a few people been speaking up in Australia, certainly. I'm not sure about New Zealand. They've been passing comments about the common law court. And I believe that there is a process. I've heard about the possibility of common law assemblies setting up in Australia. To clarify the position for the people, we've got just now 136 countries joined in. Now, the common law court exists because it provides a lawful remedy for the people. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, like everything else, we've started off slowly, but we now have 136 countries. And again, as we're not funded, this shows that we have teething problems setting this up. Now, it's been going for over 3.5 years now. It's been successful. And in relation to Australia, the Australian government have actually accepted what we're doing, accepted the documentations, and have actually used the documentation to allow people permanent residency. So therefore, the system works. It's been proven. Now, if it's proven it works and it's free, why would you want to do something else? Because it's not proven, it hasn't been accepted by the government, and it just causes confusion. What I'd like to do is say that I was aware that there was some groups setting up, and apart from the initial trials in Australia, there was different fractions all having an opinion and wanting to do various things. But we've got to get back to the basics. The common law court is the people. And basically it says what you've got to do is stand together. It says use the system that's in place to protect you and to claim a lawful remedy and enhance your rights, protect your rights. Now, what's happened is someone had actually got access to a link in the passwords because they've been passed about when we first put it over to Australia. Someone had got access to the links and actually decided to take over the Australian page on the International Common Law Court. Now, having done so, while some of the content was okay, we found out that obviously some of the content was unacceptable and we wouldn't like it. We'd have nothing to do with it. So we tried to resolve that, couldn't get any word back. So we actually closed down the international page for Australia. Now, that was closed down because the information was going up we didn't agree with. We're not getting into dispute with it, but it's not what we're about. Now, the point is there seems to be an agenda here going on. So what we've done is remove the page there. But what's also happened, I believe Mick Holt might have been involved because he's been setting up some sort of assembly just now, which is ludicrous. But in doing so, he's actually diluting what we're trying to do, and it's not protecting the people. He's asked about setting up assemblies. Well, why would you need an assembly when you have a common law court? The assemblies, as far as I'm aware, he's set up. He's actually, I think what they've actually done is set up a meeting, and they've actually appointed court officers. But in doing so, the last hearing, I think I'd heard some information come back that he has just about got his officers all appointed. Now, the appointments for the officers for a common law court is done on the day. You don't appoint officers beforehand because it's not done lawfully. What he seems to be doing is handpicking officers and people and possibly friends, getting them into these positions and then setting up a court. Now, if he does go to a court with these people hand selected, that is not a common law court. The decision will not be lawful and we'd have nothing to do with it. He says it's like, if anything, it's actually worse than what the state are doing, because the state have their own buildings, they have their own officers, they have their own enforcement side, and basically they drag you in there to their places of business. They tell you you're going to prosecute you, and then they have everything set up and structured for themselves. This is exactly the same as Mike is doing with these assemblies, because these assemblies are handpicked. The officers are handpicked. He says what we've done in the UK is when we got officers, and we're now in the process of setting up enforcement, that should be coming in a matter of weeks, and we're pushing ahead really well. When we've done that, that has only came about because we convened a common law court, and the people at the common law court gave a decision, a ruling from the court to set this up. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's been no court hearing, common law court hearing in Australia yet, so therefore you have not had a ruling from the people. Anything they have obtained by way of a decision, I would say wasn't lawful because as it came from the people. It needs to be ruled on in a court meeting. So therefore the officers they have, or these officials that they have, I would say they haven't been sworn in lawfully, they're not acting lawfully, and they will not be able to conduct and run a lawful meeting. Now, on a one point, without giving this too much airtime, the one thing I will say is we have no objection to anyone running anything that's lawful. The system that we run is up and it's available for everyone in any country. It's to protect the people. Simple. Now, there's too many people trying to do different things and they're not disclosing the reasons behind it. They seem to have hidden agendas. And when it comes down to the basics, if there's something that's working that the existing governments do not like, can't get rid of, but they know it exists and they cannot fault it, why would you try something new and different when it's free of charge for everyone to use? But the point being is, Mick had seemingly put up a video, it was drawn to my attention, but within it, he was using the logo for the common law court. Now, just to clarify the experience that these people have, they've taken a logo, now the logo is for the people. The logo was set up for the common law court. He said, now we've actually copyrighted this for the people. So it's copyrighted, but it's actually owned by the people. We have it. Now it's done through the common law court, and the use of that is obviously done through the common law court and the people that pass decisions. Mick Holt has actually been using this logo unlawfully without consent, and he's been passing himself off as being connected to the common law court. Now, by using the logo, he's committing crimes. Now, there was a colleague, a friend I had in England had actually seen this and contacted him and said on one of his meetings, he'd put in a comment in the box saying, look, this comment is owned by the common law court. You have to remove it. You're not allowed to do so. And I think Mick's response was, look, anyone can use this. It's the common law. We can use it if we want. We're going to do that. It's for the people. Well, no, it's not. It's used for the common law people. It's common law court and the people that stand under it, providing obviously it's being used lawfully. No, it's not being used lawfully. So when this happened, I personally actually wrote to them. I've sent in an email explaining that the website, obviously the information on the website they have, a lot of it's taken from the common law court, and I told them to remove it immediately. And not only that, I told them to remove the logo because they have no right to use it. Now, they have not responded to two different emails. I left them about a week apart, sent them in. I've got the proof that they were sent. They've never responded. They've never responded, but what they did do is because I removed the international page for Australia off the site, one of the colleagues, I'm not sure who it is, I can actually get a name if need be, but I was actually contacted by a web developer we had just now and said, look, there seems to be a problem because the guys are complaining that they can't get into the Australian page, and what they'd like to do is they'd like me to reset the password to allow them access. Well, that's not happening, because obviously it comes through me and the web developer. The web developer explained to me, so no, it's been closed. They've been removed because they're acting unlawfully and not honourably. Now, the whole point about looking for your freedom, there's no point in having freedom if you cannot behave honourably. Now, the fact was he was told to take down the common law court logo. Now, he's turned around and says that he's allowed to do so. Whether it's legal or lawful, that's not the case. He's not allowed to use it. Now, in using this logo without our consent or approval, he is actually committing crimes against the people, because he's diluting what we have by way of the common law court, and because he's diluting it, he's causing damage. He's not causing damage to me. I couldn't care less. It's the guy doesn't know what he's doing because he's committing crimes in law. Now, he's committing crimes against the people. So the people wish to protect the common law court. This guy has to remove his logo, the logo off his site. It's the common law court logo. He has no lawful right to use it. And the fact he's refusing to do so confirms that he's not behaving honourably. He says legally he's allowed to do it. Well, no, he's not, because it's copyrighted. So if this is the advice he gives out, God forbid anyone that goes to one of these meetings, whether it be assembly or a common law court, he said the common law court has nothing to do with these assemblies in Australia. We're quite happy for anyone to convene courts. He said, providing it's done lawfully. There's no money involved. The system's set up. Everyone can use it. And the fact that he's been written to twice and told to remove it and remove the content from the East Pop from our site as well, and he's refusing to do so, that confirms that he's behaving criminally, unlawfully, and he's not honourable. And if that's the sort of man that you want to go for advice, God help you. So other than that, I'll leave it at that. But obviously, this is just to explain the position with the Common Law Court. And for anyone looking for assistance there, we are having nothing to do with it. We wouldn't recommend going there because we've already proven that he can't be trusted. He's behaving unhonourably, and again, he's behaving criminally. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, really, because there's a lot of people very interested in getting something done, especially now the system has gone to the dogs. And it's sad to see somebody who's with commercial interests, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion, who's going to, with the long-term intention is to turn this into a profitable organization to make money, and starting off using the legal system and corporations to run it is certainly really has a bad taste. Well, anyway, John, it's great to see you back on. Our friends from Kiwi Land just popped on. You've got any questions for John? You haven't had a chat in quite a long time. Go for it.
No, we're okay. We're just waiting to see if unfortunately our Prime Minister is going to get another turn. And it looks the results of the election so far not looking very good as far as we're concerned. Anyway, it looks like we've got to suffer her for another 3 or 4 years.
Anyway, John, there's been a lot of inquiries in relation to, Brian can't make it tonight, he's away, and he wants to know, he sent for his cards, and he'd love to get his hands on his ID card. He said to bring it up. I nearly forgot, so I'm glad I've got
It's okay, it's off this week. We actually have them here just now. As I said, part of the problems we had is obviously the staffing. The emails are all up to date as well. I've been dealing with quite a few cases just now, and I said there's cards, quite a backlog going out this week. We should actually be able to finish them off shortly. But as I said, we're also looking to take on more staff. We had half a dozen came on initially. We took them a while to train up, so they're actually doing quite well just now. We're actually in the process of now taking more because of obviously the demand and obviously the business that we're dealing with just now. It is busy. There's been loads of issues to deal with, lots of information coming in. What we would say while we're on just now is we are aware everything obviously has been dealt with through the court will be honoured. Obviously there's a backlog which we've apologised for. It's actually slowing down the system just now when people are emailing in. Believe it or not, we get people who email and we deal with a query and respond to them, which is great, and they're great. The people are great. Understanding, we're putting out a letter with the orders that go out as well, just to explain what's been happening. It's with them that actually write back to us in an email, which we've got to take time to open up. And when we open up, it's a thank you letter. It's great. We love it. Unfortunately, it takes more time to do. So we get many, many, many thank yous from the people. Look, we understand. It's just the people are obviously grateful for this. It's been difficult trying to deal with this, but obviously it's just things like this only slow things down. Unless the emails are necessary, if you can obviously keep the emails to a minimum, that allows us to get on with the work, and hopefully in the future we'll actually be okay. We can set things up and improve. As I said just now, anything to help just now would be ideal. We're taking on quite a few cases just now, because the cases are actually have been taken on by the people. It's not an individual case through one individual. What we're doing is taking cases on against key figures, but it's on behalf of the people. So therefore, when the paper is actually drawn up and submitted, it should be this coming week, the paperwork will go up on the website as well to confirm exactly what's going on so everyone can see it. We're obviously getting that file finished off just now, but as I said, it's been ongoing for a number of weeks because of the complaints and what we're currently dealing with. So these cases will be taken on against key figures, politicians and prime ministers as well. We'll be going to the court with them.
England.
I've always got a question. I've always got a question.
Jackie, I will
Typical,
pull down the
typical.
screen. Go, man.
I recently saw something from a gentleman in the UK, Michael O'Benici, I think his name was.
Benicia. Yeah, Michael Benicia.
Yes. Just regarding they had a common law court grand jury and the Parliament had accepted it. What went on with that, John?
Not quite.
Their system.
Not quite. Michael Benicia has been taking on the state system for 10, 12 years at least. Now, his problem initially came from a dispute with the land registry, and it was a housing issue, mortgages. Now, he's been dealing with that in corruption by the state, and I think he dealt personally with his children and refused to give them a birth certificate. So he's been involved in various things for a number of years. Now, he has been fighting it, and he's been trying to get many people together in groups to go and take on the land registry and even the government in relation to housing issues. Now, I can't actually comment on what he's done because he's been going for a number of years, and I've been led to believe that he has some sort of result or a decision in his favour, but I don't think he's actually been able to enforce it. Now, when we were setting up the common law courts a while back, we spoke to various people because, as I said, the courts are for the people. So we spoke to many people within the UK and about some of the issues we're dealing with. And I remember personally emailing Michael a long time ago to make contact with him. I think there was one or two emails that went back and forth, but what he says is because he was predominantly dealing with things in England, he couldn't really assist. So we left it and we carried on with the common law court and formed it. Now, we've never actually spoke to him since, but Michael tends to use their system to argue in the system, and he's obviously tried quite a few times, but he's going for about 10, maybe 12 years. They haven't actually achieved an end result, but what he wants to do is try and use common law to take on the state. Now, there's a couple of things I possibly don't agree with, which, again, I know that you obviously disagree with some of the things that we do, which is fine. I think it pointed out in relation to Magna Carta. Magna Carta has been quoted in many courts, their courts, places of business. And when you present this to the judges, they all tend to ignore you. So I believe that after years of this, they decided, well, what they're going to do to overcome it, they would create a brand new Magna Carta. So I think at some point, you'll probably get information on it. They were trying to set up a Magna Carta 2020, and they've actually came up with it. Now, straight away, I disagreed with it because the state are saying that Magna Carta doesn't exist. Now, Magna Carta can never be changed. It's there in perpetuity. They say, so it stands forever. Now, effectively, what Michael Benicia has done is basically says, well, okay, because you're not accepting the original one, the people will make up a new one. But he's defeating the point because the original one does exist. He says it can never be changed. So therefore, you argue the point about the original one and tell them that they're committing crimes, enforce it that way. But because the judge says, no, we're not accepting it, he created a brand new one, which is effectively saying, well, we don't accept the first one either. So we don't deal with that. So that was one of the things they've done. But I think because someone had mentioned that, or the information got back to them, I think I was told then that it wasn't the Magna Carta 2020 was going to be used by way of an addition or supplement to the original one. So I don't know. The other thing that I've just heard about, and I know he quite likes, there's a couple of guys, I actually quite like him. There's a guy over in England, John Hurst, great guy. He says really good authority, ex-policeman, knows probably foremost authority on things like the English Constitution and Magna Carta and things like that. Now he, as far as I'm aware, did actually set up and help run grand juries a few years back. It was the first ones I actually came across. Now, the problem about a grand jury is when you run a grand jury, it can be 25 people on the jury. You basically put the information before a jury, you're looking for a majority decision, and then if you get the decision, it doesn't do anything. All you're doing is basically getting a decision which you can then pass on to the state to say that the people want this looked into because it's been ignored and we expect you to prosecute. Now, what happened when they run 4 grand juries before, they got, I think there was one of them wasn't done correctly. There was a dispute over somebody that was on the grand jury. So one case was void. I think they got 3 and they were successful. So they took the 3 cases, went to the CPS in England and says, look, we have 3 decisions here from a grand jury. We'd like this action. So the CPS, I says, yes, okay, fine, we'll have a look at it. So they took it, sat on it for months, and then come back and said, well, we've decided it's not in the public interest to proceed. And they dropped it. So my point when we were setting up the grand jury, and I spoke to people about it, says, why would you bother with a grand jury? Because if you have a grand jury, the only thing it does is gives you an opinion or a verdict from the people, but they're still then going to the state to get them to prosecute. Why would you do that? Because the state are corrupt. If the state are corrupt, they're never ever going to do it, even if you get a decision from a grand jury. So he says, well, bypass that and just convene courts, which is what we've been doing. So we went straight for the courts. We don't get involved with grand juries. Michael Benicia does like the idea of a grand jury, which I think he continues with. I'm not sure if they did actually have a grand jury, but I think the information circulating just now is I think that they're in the process of going to the courts in England, at the High Court, and I think they're trying to prosecute politicians for this COVID nonsense. Now, I believe that he's served everyone, in all politicians in the UK Parliament with this paperwork, and because they've been served that he's threatened to prosecute them. I think now there's a possibility that he might be prosecuting them, but he's instructed and obtained legal services from either a solicitor or a barrister, which is within the system. We're actually going to prosecute them, but we're going to do it with the people. We're not using barristers or solicitors.
John, in relation to the grand jury, I understand its origin is well and truly linked with the fiction system. But for a politician, if you did have a grand jury and that then you get an indictment from that grand jury, is there any reason why you couldn't take that into the common law court and ignore, obviously, to get the other system? Is there a problem with that because you have an indictment started?
No, there's not a problem with that. But the point is, it's actually delaying. If you have something like COVID just now, right? You've legislation being passed. You have restrictions on people just now. If you go and set up a grand jury, it takes a little while to do, but you then set up a grand jury. You go through the process. You convince a grand jury to give you a decision, and then when you get the decision, you've then got to stop and start all over again, and then convene the common law court to present it. Well, the point being is, for speed, if someone wants to raise the issue, just call out or convene a common law court and deal with it straight away. Why go to a grand jury?
Okay.
This is because the grand jury is only giving you, obviously, the opinion of the people anyway. Just go for the court anyway, which is why we do it. We do it that way.
Did you ask the question, Barry, in terms of Brian Shaw?
Oh, well, yeah, well, Brian Shaw has been going here for years, and Brian has got a great reputation. But Brian has had grand juries, and I've been involved with them, but he takes it back into the Supreme Court, and they get buried. So that's forgotten about. You can't keep on banging your head against the same wall and expecting different results. My next question is, and I just remembered it, King John III, have you got any information in relation to this gentleman?
No, I have not spoken to him for a while. I says I have spoken to him a few occasions. I've seen him a couple of occasions as well. I don't know what's happening just now. I've been led to believe that he's been speaking to various people, including Donald Trump. He's been speaking to the Army General associated with or close by with Donald Trump as well. But I was told there'll be further information coming out. Over the coming weeks, this is run about. Hopefully, if they get rid of this election and get by the election, it'll come out and there'll be some sort of open statement then. So I think the information will come out in some form or another. We don't know. Obviously, we get information, but what we've actually been doing as well is we're putting court papers just now, but we've challenged already because we've had a common law court verdict confirming that the Queen wasn't actually lawfully crowned to the coronation. So therefore, it confirms that we don't have a Queen, and therefore, if we don't have a Queen, and the judges in courts are obviously all involved and they exist because of the Queen and they signed an oath to her, they have no power and authority over living men and women. Now, with Greg coming forward and saying that he's obviously King John III, if you take this just now, because the state haven't accepted her, but the point is he has come forward, stood up, signed off the paperwork, and he's done various proclamations to confirm his standing. So therefore, we put that into the court papers as well and say, look, he says, you've got confusion here because the Queen is not the Queen. We've already proven that. You've also got a king here that no one is disputing is a king. No one's rebutted it. No one's challenged it. And therefore, this is what he said in his proclamations. So therefore, one way or another, you have to deal with it. Now, I did speak to him and says, look, at some point, we go into courts and we will argue and challenge these people. He says, at some point, you have to come forward and step forward. They should be called on as a witness. He's informed me that he's delighted to come forward to court and he will appear at any time when we want him. So he will come into court as a witness if need be. But the point is, they have no authority in the courts anyway. So we're obviously pushing forward with that. And if need be, we will take him into court as well.
There'll be any chance of getting him coming onto this poor channel?
I get him. I says, I speak to him occasionally, rarely. He says, look, he says, what I could do is speak to him and see if I can. He said, it's a while since I spoke to him as well. When something happens, I normally get some sort of indication back from him, some sort of word. I'll mention the next time. But I do know that he's obviously snowed under with people doing media, either interviews with him or various things. They're still ongoing just now. So I know he does a lot just now, but I'll mention that next time I speak to him. I spoke about the common law court. Now, it's like if the people just now, and again, come back to the people because it's all about people, would like to confirm, I would like to thank all the people that take part in this process, because basically by confirming you exist as a living man and woman, this is you're standing together. Now, as I said, we've 136 countries just now, but the politicians cannot continue doing what they're doing. Is the people will hold them accountable. Now, we set up and convened common law courts. Now, it's taken us about it's just coming up to 3.5 years we've been going. But during the 3.5 years, which we've said time and time again, if you think about what you actually have with the common law court, we've never, certainly in the UK, and it would be the same in Australia, you've never actually had a court system that has been run is by anyone other than the Crown, the government, or the politicians. So it's run by the state. Now, we all know just now that it's run by commercial entities, but obviously that's always been the case. Now, for the first time ever, we go back 1,000 years, UK, we actually have now established a court which not only exists, the existing system hate it, but they actually also have to acknowledge that it exists, and we convene our own courts. We now obviously have our own decisions, we have our own paperwork, which is all lawful, and it's never been challenged. Now, that is done because the people are standing together. Now, that's fine, but we've done that in it was done about 2.5 years when we got that confirmation. When going 3.5 years, they've actually had hundreds of years, if not thousands, to stand and build their system. We've actually done this in a couple of years and we're having success. Now, the more and more people that stand together, the more and more success you'll have when you're having to take on these corrupt politicians. The power rests with the people. If the people stand together, he says, they will be able to utilise the system. Now, what we're doing now, although we've now established the courts, and they do exist, and you can have them elsewhere in various countries, what we're now doing now is looking at the enforcement side. So in a matter of weeks, we've actually drafted out, and we have a training course available now. It's been drafted out by a couple of ex-policemen with 20 odd years, 25 years plus senior policemen who, one of them was down in the Met, this is for a number of years as well, but they've put together this training course. Now, for the first time ever, this is in the UK, we're going to have, we're not calling it police, so we're not using the word force. So it effectively says it will be peace service we're using, and what we will have is we'll have CLC constables, or if you want, peace constables. So there will be constables. Now, this will be set up, but it's not just a matter of saying, okay, we're appointing a constable here, swear them in, that's it. They're actually being given training. So they will be given a couple of days training. Now, the training is ongoing, and obviously they'll be topping up every so often, but initially they'll get a couple of days training, and that is to deal with the responsibilities. We have a job description for them as well. So what we're going to do is get these constables working with the people and working with the existing state to confirm that things are being done lawfully. And when need be, these guys will come in, step in, and obviously assist in matters to protect people. So the training will be done shortly in a matter of weeks. We'll look at uniforms as well. So we'll have a recognised uniform. The state will be told, the chief constables will be told, the governments will be told, and these constables will be out and not only turning up to assist people, they will be out walking the streets in uniform. So they'll actually, like a beat Bobby, they'll be out speaking to the public, chatting to them, so the public will know that they're there and they can call on them. So we're getting this up throughout the UK. Now, this has taken a little while to do, with obviously the increase in numbers now. That's why there's a lot of work going on just now, and we're having to take on additional people to help. But this is happening in the very near future. Now, this gives you the foundation whereby, having convened our own courts, set them up and established them, we now, for the first time ever, will set up this peace service for the public. So effectively, for the first time ever, the public will now have their own enforcement officers, constables. So they'll have the enforcement constables there working for the people, only there to protect the people. They're not dealing with enforcement of statutes. They're not fining you. They're there only, like the old Bobby and the beat, he says, there to protect people, to protect them and make sure that they suffer no harm, loss or injury. Now, that's going to be the case. But what you've got to remember, when this commences, and it's not that far away, this will be the first time that this happened in the world. Now, while in the UK we have obviously a police service as such, they're all registered companies. The police officers they have just now are registered, they're working for a corporation. They're not actually sworn in by the people, they're not working for the people, they're working for profit, and they're protecting big business. Now, there are a couple of private police forces that I know of in London. The reasons that they were set up is because it was ex-senior policemen who've set it up because those wealthy people in various suburbs in London had been concerned about the amount of crime in the area and the fact they didn't feel safe walking back and forth from their car to their house, and there was burglaries. So what they decided to do is say, look, we need protection. So the police had obviously been speaking to various people, and in some of the wealthier neighbourhoods in London, these police, for a fixed fee, a monthly fee, are patrolling the streets in these areas. And if need be, they will actually personally escort a resident from their car to their house, which is great, the way it should be. It's not realistic because you cannot roll that out throughout the country. But the point is, this is a private force, which is okay, but it's commercial and it's done for money. It's not for the people. Whereas the Common Law Court now is actually setting up this peace service with constables, and it will be available all over the UK, and they will be out in the streets. So this will be set up. Now, when we actually get this up and running, that's the first time that this has happened, and we will have achieved that, and it's something that's came down to the people. The more and more assistance we get with this, the more and more constables we'll have, the easier it becomes to protect the people. And the thing is, it's only because the people are using these facilities and signing up, they say that we're able to do this just now. Because they're signing up, it's increasing in numbers. There's more and more people wanting enforcement, want assistance, want protection. So we're now obviously proceeding with that. So we're not that far away just now, but obviously bearing that in mind, it started in the UK, is that this can be run out everywhere. The same procedure, the same training, everyone, all over in every country. But it's done lawfully and it's done with the people. And this came about because the people had given a decision at a common law court saying this is what we require. So therefore, this is what we do. Now, again, it's not been done anywhere else before. But the people are moving and the people are trying to take this on. So between that and some of the cases we're away to lodge against the various authorities just now, there will be changes in the coming months. But it's something that they can look forward to throughout the world, and also this is in Australia and New Zealand and that just now, because obviously the work you're doing just now. So thank you to the people and obviously watch this space.
At the end of this November coming up, after the American elections, when the Democrats start crying to the courts, we should be opened up here for businesses. How long will it take? Anne sends you some paperwork. How quick can we get it back so we can proceed? I think Anne, you should take it up from there. How fast would you like it, Anne?
Well, you got the lot that I was
yeah.
Right.
I was obviously waiting just now because I spoke. Brian sent some stuff through for his cases as well. I was just looking to confirm the date you're looking at, and then we'll have a chat about how you're going to proceed and what to do. But I've already explained the stuff you've got is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a matter of getting the hall, the accommodation, finalise the date, and then we'll sit down and go through everything that you need. But again, you've got the information there anyway, and the paperwork's fine as well. There's not an issue. It's just a matter of having a chat and go over it together. Okay.
Yeah, with Brian's stuff, I think we can all coordinate with some kind of through Zoom, so to help them out of off their set sort of thing. So if you want advice, I can help them out, and anybody else has got the knowledge and the claim.
When is he holding this? That's my understanding. This is the first one in Australia, which is very exciting. So in New South Wales, is it next week, Anne, Barry?
It's the 20th of something. Hang on, I'm just looking at the date. I think it is sometime next week.
Yeah, I think it is. Very exciting. Mm. And Brian is such a clever man.
Oh, yeah.
He's obviously not here today. So obviously what I'll do is I'll call him in the next couple of days. We'll have a chat anyway, just to go through. But it says everything he's done, everything's fine. And the paperwork's been done complete. It's literally just a matter of turning up on the day. And we've obviously covered that as well, but we'll go through it again in depth, and we can have a chat, 2 or 3 of us, and Zoom and go through it again to make sure that he has all the support he needs. Okay.
Our friends from New Zealand have stayed up very late tonight. It's 11:15 over there. How are you holding up, Steve? Vicky, you can talk for me slow tonight.
Yeah, we're holding up all right. Actually, one question, John. Like months and months ago, I think it was in March, I ordered some paperwork and bits and pieces for myself, and it's never received it. So
no, it's like everything else just now. What we've actually said, there was about 4.5 months, we actually had 4,600 people had signed up to the site. Now, what they'd done when they signed up is it was okay, the information was protected, there was no issues with it. But all that happened is because of the plugins on the site were faulty or there was a conflict, what happened is it would not display the people's information on the site. So although they'd register on the site, they couldn't find their entries. And then what done is because we've had to redo them and resubmit them, we weren't sure how it was going to do. So we were actually holding off just now. We couldn't actually process anything. Everything came to a standstill for nearly 4 months. Now, we were actually going to turn and block everything and say, look, we're not taking any orders or nothing, just stop it down. And I thought, well, if you do that, it's causing more problems and then people wondering what the hell's going on. I thought, look, leave it, because we're not sure that it'll be okay and it'll be sorted quickly. Now, it wasn't, and actually took longer, and we kept waiting week to week. How's this going to be sorted? When's it going to be sorted? Eventually, they did sort it, and what we had to do is that was a push, the emphasis to get more people to help us out. So we had to take on a team just now, and they sat down and actually sifted through 4,500 entries, or 4,600 entries, to get them personally on the site one at a time. So they've done that. We then had to address the emails and obviously start speaking to people and obviously try and sort out some of the problems, deal with obviously 1 or 2 court issues just now, and the orders were obviously left down the list, but obviously the orders are starting to go out just now. We've actually got a pile of orders going out. This is to Australia and New Zealand later on this week, so we have that as well just now. We've been speaking to people all over just now, but it wouldn't take too long, and we're probably going to take on another 5 or 6 people to help out over the next fortnight as well. So I think we've quite a nice team building up. Unfortunately, when you get these people on board, it does take time to train them. The site is operational, and like everything we've said before, it says everything's protected, everything's fine. It only been because we had actually made sure that everything was protected and we weren't proceeding and making a mess of things that we actually hold on, which has obviously caused some of the delays. Had we just carried on with what we're doing regardless, and then started messed about and putting out orders as we had a problem, it kind of mucked up the system, the security and everything for people's information. So we decided, look, leave it just now, we'll get it done as soon as we can, but that's the reason for the delay. The orders that are going out just now, there's a letter written to each customer that's going out. So what we're doing is sending a personal letter explaining everything that's went on and obviously apologise for what's going on. Now, we sympathise that much. Some of the people have contacted us and said, look, they've been waiting for a while for obviously an order, it's not come in. We've obviously got back to these people and say, look, we apologise for it. It's got to be dealt with. If you want, we'll refund the money. And we have actually refunded money that people have won. So we'll do that. That's not an issue. We've said to the people what's been going on, how long it will take. And a lot of the people have turned around and said, no, we're fine, we're okay with it. So it's being dealt with just now. And I says the people have been understanding and helpful. Some have just said, look, we'll just return the money. I'll order it later on, which is fine. So we've done that as well. But the issues have been dealt with just now, and as I said, the site just now is operational. It's up and running, but we've also pointed out to help us move forward and develop what we're doing. We've actually got access to premises as well, so we have somewhere to work, which is obviously why we've got additional helpers coming in. But the things just now, we're pretty much on track, and as I said, the orders are going out. They are the last, unfortunately, they're the last things to deal with. But they are going out with obviously a letter explaining what's been going on. They should be resolved over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, we should be up to scratch. And then from then on, we won't have an issue. Once we've caught up fully with the orders, we'll then be fine. So again, when people are having a pop, and this coming back, is although we're not going to the same story again, we understand the frustration with the people. We've got people just now, which is, well, we're dealing with issues, COVID. We're dealing about lockdown, about vaccinations, about examinations. And there's loads of things going on. He says, we had yesterday in the UK, I got a video about it today, they're passing legislation in the UK and it's just passed the 3rd sitting, I think, through the House of Commons. So it's now going up to the House of Lords and it will probably go through. But effectively what they've done is they're trying to pass legislation which makes it legal. It says for anyone in the states, the undercover police, to commit crimes against the people to achieve an end result. So therefore, it says if the police believe that they wish to shoot someone, kill someone, beat someone up, unlawfully detain them, sexually assault them, anything they want, remove them from their home, throw them in prison forevermore, they can do what they want. It's a crime. It's confirmed it is a crime, but they'll never ever be prosecuted because of this legislation.
Same thing's happening here, John. They're doing the same thing here.
Well, we're doing that just now, and this is the interesting thing is the second party we have in the UK, Labour, they've decided they wouldn't actually vote on the issue. So they've actually just stood down and let it go through. So it's past the 3 hearings at the Commons, it's now going to the House of Lords, which is ridiculous. Now, these people are supposed to be protecting, well, these individuals, MPs, are supposed to be working for the people and protecting them. There's no way, it's like a license to kill people. They can do what they want. It's ridiculous. So this happened yesterday just now, and it's only because of these things that we're dealing with, the people standing together, we can move forward. It says they're working with a state just now. They've had thousands of years. They've got the income, they've got the state, the crown, everyone behind them. The people are actually starting here and think about what we're doing. There's very few people understand what's going on. Some of them are not listening, and they're going about wearing their masks. It says you then get people which is sitting at home locked behind a door because they're scared to go out. They don't know, and some people have never heard about the common law court. But the point is, if this message gets out and more stand together, it's fine. Yes, it's like everything else. We do things, when we're doing things, we achieve an end result, and the end result we get is done because it's done correctly. The issue we have, unfortunately, the main issue we have is obviously to do with the system that you operate, which is the computer and the ordering and things like that. That's done through the website. And unfortunately, because the technical side has been letting us down, but that's down to funding as well and what we have, although it is being addressed, and we're looking obviously at replacing what we have. We've changed it a couple of times already because of increased numbers. If that wasn't an issue, we'd be able to continue, but at the same time, we're also looking to get up these courses straight away for the enforcement constables as well. So if people work with us just now in the coming weeks, that will be addressed. And the only thing we do is, because we now have premises and we now have helpers, there shouldn't be this issue in the future. So therefore, when people are ordering things and emails that are coming, it should be dealt with reasonably quickly. If you bear with us, we'll get there eventually. Hello, sorry, it was just a final point that wasn't discussed during our meeting. The Common Law Court is doing quite a lot of work just now. We discussed the enforcement that we're dealing with shortly, we'll have in place. But what we've been discussing just now off air is a situation regarding the healthcare. Now, it's apparent just now, not only in the UK, but worldwide, that many of the health professionals are aware that what's going on is not only criminal, they're obviously attacking the people. Now, because of this so-called pandemic and COVID and the legislation that's been passed, many health professionals are speaking up. And for doing so, they're actually having their licenses removed, which means they can't operate within the system. Now, that's disgusting. The individuals will be held accountable that's doing this and attacking the people. However, in the meantime, what we're offering the people the chance to do now is, if they're in the medical industry, whether it be a doctor, a nurse, ancillary staff, or anything else to do with the medical industry, if they are actually licensed and have qualifications, there'll be a site going up just now on the a page going up on the Common Law Court, which will obviously be private for medical professionals. But what we're asking them to do is, if they wish to put forward their name, they can put forward their name, their age, their qualifications in the brief job description. That information will remain confidential, but it will stay on the site and they will get a registration number. That will then confirm that we've accepted that under common law, their qualifications, and that they can still continue to work and practice under common law, and they'll be protected by the Common Law Court. Now, if you have a few doctors, maybe nurses, ancillary staff in a small area that are together, there is no reason why you cannot form and set up CLC health clinics under a CLC healthcare banner. You can then operate and treat people under common law who wish to come to the surgery or your clinic. It's something we're working on just now and will be happening in the coming months. But just now, if you wish to inquire, you can send in an email initially to medical@commonlawcourt.com. Send in any sort of email there. If you're involved, we'll answer that. We'll explain how it's going to operate. And in the next few weeks, there'll be the opportunity to register your qualifications under common law, and that will protect you in the future. Okay.
Well, anyway, John, it's been a great getting you back on the air after you've had such a busy few weeks with the International Court over in France and stuff. Thank you very much for leaving your very busy schedule this morning and talking to us. We'll have a meeting again very soon in the near future. And once again, thanks for popping on.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.